to Chongjin Port. She also gives Ken a business card of the alleged kidnappers of his wife. The men set off for the address written on it. Before the trip, Chunsik tells the detective about Kan's criminal past. However, once at the location, they face failure once again. In despair, Ken steps outside and notices a man leading 3 provocatively dressed girls out of a minivan. He realizes the driver may be connected to his wife and peers into the vehicle. His suspicions are immediately confirmed. He recalls having seen this man on the very day Jisoo disappeared. Ken waits for the thug to return and offers to talk. But the man has no desire to chat. So Ken decides to act. The attempt ends in failure. At that moment, the protagonist receives a call from the station. They ask him to come and identify a corpse resembling Jisoo. Is that Jisoo? With relief, Ken realizes the deceased woman is not his wife. He overhears information about the discovered body and passes it to the private detective. The detective finds yet another clue. A man named Jean. This man recently appeared at the police station to surrender with evidence. Ken arranges a meeting with the murdered woman's husband and listens to his story. Kite also played a role in it. He approached the man with a similar financial offer. The poor man's wife was in a coma, and she had recently been shown on TV. Thus, Kite found his future victim. Sell your sick wife. The desperate man accepted the offer. Finally, he hands Ken the results of his own investigation into his wife's disappearance. The ex-gangster finds in the folder a business card similar to the one he once received from Kite, back when the thug rammed into the couple's trunk. Everything matches. At that moment, a loud crash is heard. Ken rushes to the office at the indicated address and immediately encounters a familiar face inside. Behind the desk sits Kite's driver. Ken interrogates him with harsh methods. But the visit of the enraged husband does not go unnoticed. Still, that doesn't stop Ken from dragging the chauffeur to his lair for a pleasant continuation of their conversation in a more convenient setting. Don't you think this isn't right, huh? Would a man really talk in such a position? No. This is torture. Damn it. At that moment, Ken's phone rings. On the other end is Kite. Kite orders Ken to kill his own driver. If the former gangster refuses, the mafia boss threatens to kill his wife. Ken is forced to carry out the command. The next step, Kite orders Ken to return his money. In exchange, he promises to return Jisoo and immediately hangs up. However, the experienced ex-gangster manages to deceive the blackmailer. Soon the thug regains consciousness again. He reveals to Ken the entire scheme of trafficking attractive Korean women. To them, women are nothing but goods, and the abduction and ransom plan has long been put on an assembly line. The chauffeur says that no one has ever tried tea. Meanwhile, we are shown where Ken's wife is being kept. The place resembles a mix between a hotel and an abandoned psychiatric clinic. Jisoo and the other girls are constantly in danger there. They are beaten and forced to sleep on the floor. The trio, however, cleverly sneaks into the station, and then into the police accounting office. Chunsik plays the role of a subordinate of the so-called chief prosecutor of Seoul. But what case are we supposed to check, kids? At one point they are dangerously close to being exposed. The suspicious pair are asked to show identification and wait for the investigator in charge of the case. Then Ken decides to intervene. The distraction maneuver works perfectly. A few seconds are enough for the pair to leave the building. Then, together with Ken, they leave the parking lot in front of the station. The money is now in the hands of the trio, but they must act quickly. Meanwhile, Kite brutally punishes the guard who had beaten Jisoo. To him, people are nothing but merchandise, and damaged goods are harder to sell. Ken's wife lies unconscious. The scene is interrupted by a phone call. On the other end, Ken offers to meet for the money exchange. But Kite never intended to play by the rules. Turn this place upside down. As soon as that idiot arrives, take the money and put him down like a dog. At the station, chaos breaks out. The police are in an uproar because of the illegal intrusion and theft of evidence. The investigator realizes Ken is behind this and calls him. The desperate man answers briefly. I will find my wife and take whatever punishment comes. Jisoo turns out not to be faint-hearted. She makes an attempt to escape with her new acquaintance. She regains consciousness and notices a window. At the last moment, Jisoo squeezes through the window onto the ledge and jumps. The girl survives and runs toward the forest. As soon as Jisoo disappears from sight, Kitae enters with a guard. And how did this happen? The runaway prisoner reaches the road, but the kidnappers catch up with her. Meanwhile, while Kitae is busy searching, Ken and his two companions arrive at the place where the captives are held. The door is locked, but nothing can stop the former mafioso now. Ken bursts into the building. Where is your boss? Through surveillance cameras he locates the room with the girls and rushes there. On the way he crushes the guards. Then Ken reaches the room from which Kitae had called him. There he is met by the boss's bodyguard. The fight lasts a little longer than usual, but still ends badly for the thug. Meanwhile, Chunsik and the private detective see guards trying to transfer the girls. The element of surprise helps them a lot. And the stick. While the pair free the illegal harem, Ken continues his crusade through the abandoned resort, as the sign tells us. The very last gangster almost knocks Ken out, but Ken uses an extremely extravagant move. Then a classic slap finishes. By the time Ken leaves the building, his partners arrive. This time they pull off their cover story much better than before at the station. I'm from the chief prosecutor's office, the prosecutor himself, and... The cops fall for it, and the trio slips away. On the way out from the base, Ken suddenly encounters his old acquaintance. There is a crowd of police everywhere. Hello? Hello? Hi Yunim. Hi Yunim! A chase begins. But you can't get far driving in reverse. Still, Kitae and his driver skillfully turn around and try to escape. Ken continues the pursuit. Then the gang boss hits Ken where it hurts. Through the side window he shows Jisoo's face. She is unconscious from the drugs. Ken realizes he must act more cleverly, so as not to endanger his wife. He overtakes Kitae's car. But in the end, to avoid harming Jisoo, he prevents their car from crashing into the guardrail, while he himself flies off the highway. Kitae survives, but his driver is knocked out. The mafia boss tumbles onto the road and runs at Ken's car with an axe. Finally, Ken catches the mafia boss and beats him mercilessly, then throws him out of the car. At the end, Kitae collapses from the blows, but Ken cannot stop himself. Only when his opponent loses the ability to speak does he return to the car, where his wife still lies unconscious. The girl slowly comes to her senses. She cries with happiness and embraces Ken. The film ends with a news broadcast. The anchor reports on the dismantling of a gang involved in the kidnapping of women. The second piece of news is especially important for Ken and Chunsik. The Chinese government has returned the confiscated shipment, the cargo of king crabs. The ship with their crabs has finally reached its destination. Ken's dream has come true. He and Jisoo have become rich and influential. The couple visits a large crab restaurant. Ken has become its supplier. And they lived happily ever after, as the saying goes. It's hard to believe, but the entire film was shot in just under 3 months. You can find the title of today's movie in the description. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. To do that, click the bell. That way, interesting videos about movies from us will come out even more often. Finally, write in the comments, which film about gangsters leaving crime behind impressed you the most?